Welcome everyone to Star
Hello.
Trek, our ongoing journey through the litany of Star Trek episodes. And this week we're taking a massive diversion through to the magnificent Ferengi as picked by one Automaton 2000 and as accompanied by our special guest, a faceless star, but here on The Voice all the same, OvertiredToo. Thank you for joining us for the magnificent Ferengi, an absolute barnstormer of an episode, a literal Empok Nor of episodes, which was something of a different episode than we've definitely reviewed so far, and definitely one we've seen in all of Star Trek. And I said during the episode we were watching it, this is only something you could do after about 6 seasons of Deep Space Nine. You couldn't get away with this early
This
on.
is a dessert episode. It's a lot of fun, and it's, very, like, saccharin's not the right word, but I mean, you can't have a steady diet of it, but when you do have it, you really enjoy it.
So good. So this
All
was
the
written by...
continuity.
Oh, sorry, go on.
All the continuity, it's real fan service to fans of Deep Space Nine, where it's just like all these characters are back, Empok Nor's back, or Empok Nor's back, and
I've had Tarek North for quite some time, but this was written by obviously Ira Stephen Bear, but also Hans Beimler, who wrote or assisted with teleplays as well with The Arsenal of Freedom, with Who Watches the Watchers, Yesterday's Enterprise, Empok Nor, obviously, Sacrifice of the Angels, and also The Siege of AR 558, and as a little bonus, Shades of Grey. If you just want that little spice in there as well.
Look, there's nothing you can really do to make writing a clip show any better, is there?
This was directed by Chip Chalmers, who did Captain's Holiday, The Loss, The Ethics, and also Take Me Out to the Holosuite. I think we've got some good pedigree here. There's a few fun ones in there, but there's definitely some good. This was... It's hard to think of an episode that I've thought, like, this is perfect in and out. For a Star Trek fan, not for a TV fan, but for a Star Trek fan that likes DS9 and specifically likes Ferengi episodes. This is a culmination of all your Lumbars and your Grand Naguses and your, Nog entering. This comes up, this has a lot of plot points that thread through, from like Quark talking about his cousin Gala, from Brunt being the FCA liquidator and then getting defeated by the trade union, and then Nog going through Starfleet. This kind of, and the Dominion War, this sort of plays into a little bit of everything that Star Trek fans and DS9 fans especially that are familiar with the seasons can get so much more out of this than any other season. Please, I'm sure someone's got a quick flash disagreement to say, "Ha, you're wrong, Idol, and here's why." Please go on.
Guess what? This, as you said, this is an episode you can only do after 6 seasons. And I believe we only saw... We didn't see Worf in this episode.
Nope.
We didn't see Jake. We only saw Kira in one small scene. Sisko had 2 small scenes. Jadzia, Miles, and Julian only had 1 small scene in the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Worf doesn't appear at all. There is almost nothing going on here if your name is not Quark, and to a degree, even Odo is kind of like, this is a Quark episode, or to end all Quark episodes. Even like a Worf or a Sisko episode will still draw in the rest of the cast. They will still find something for them to do. But here they're like, nah, we have a 45-minute slot, and we're dedicating it to Quark and every other attendant Ferengi we've ever built up on the episode. If we'd had Wallace Shawn show up even on like a screenshot, I think we would have gotten every single recurring Ferengi NPC we've
that
ever
is a
had.
plot point. Like literally, quote from Mary Alpha: "All the Ferengi seen in this episode have been featured on the series before." Gyla appeared in Business as Usual. Ferengi, Lek, the actor who played him, was an unnamed Ferengi seen exiting the chamber of the Grand Navis in Ferengi lug songs. And Zek is the only Ferengi recurring character not to appear in this episode. And that was only because Wallace Shawn was not available. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have been.
They would have found a way. He would have turned up on the. He would have turned up on the station.
Yeah.
Well, and that's my one minor complaint, and it's kind of unfair because it's like what could have been kind of thing. But like originally, it was going to be Zek that was held captive, and then that makes more sense. It raises the stakes. Why would the Federation be willing to give up this important prisoner for the
Quark's mom,
the Negus's unknown girlfriend? So, but it still works, and it's just that, oh, what might have been.
Well, I think they do a decent job of I think they do a decent job of arc welding it, considering the fact that they already set up in a previous episode that Ishka is doing all the hard work because Zek's memory is failing. Like, they'd already put in the hard work to justify it. I don't know if they were aware ahead of time that Zek was going to be unavailable. If not, guess what? That was great planning. But yeah, it is one of these weird things where it's like the Ferengi are not... So because of the way the Federation economy works, or rather doesn't work at all because it doesn't exist, the Federation and the Ferengi are allies, but the Ferengi don't do anything for the Federation, really. It's not like other fantasy or sci-fi economies where it's like you have like a client race that's like they do the military and they do the economy. Like, we've been playing Mass Effect. It's the same relationship that the Turians have with the Volus, where it's like the Turians do the military, the Volus do the banking, right? But that doesn't exist here. That being said, the Ferengi is still a relatively large Alpha Beta Quadrant power with a lot of... So it's a bit weird that the secret power behind the throne of one of those major Alpha Quadrant powers is just like, let this group of 6 Ferengi idiots handle it. And let's be real, they are idiots. Even Nog is a bit of an idiot in this episode.
Oh, definitely.
You gotta admit, Mass Effect 2 is a great game.
It's a great game. I can't wait to play it someday.
Hey, different stream.
But you kind of don't really mind, because the episode builds up so much goodwill with how much fun you're having in the first 5 minutes. Because it's been 5 minutes and, like, Quark is already spinning you up one of his engaging yarns where even though you know no one really cares, he's just so charming, you're going to have to give him the attention. You've got your Odo bit going. You get your dramatic emphasis given. And then you start getting the Rom and Quark, like, freaking comedy bits. And you're already like, okay, this is going to be something special. You know, it's like... We remarked on it the instant we got it on. It's like, Rom, I've been looking all over the station for you, and now I finally found you. Oh, now you go and hide, and I'll find you.
That was like, so good. Oh my god, that is literally my moment with the episode. That is
right from the off, golden line. That in any other episode that would be the single best line, and here it's like it's in the top 10. It's like there's a lot of good lines in this episode, and just no. No.
I want to pull back a minute because DS9 does get a lot of love for their weaving in the storylines, for doing serialization well, and deeper, darker stories and all this stuff. One thing I don't hear talked about quite as much. We're in season 6, so they're deep into the serialization, and it's a pretty serious storyline, Dominion War. They have a lot of heavy episodes. Like you mentioned once, Siege of AR-558. Like, it doesn't get heavier than that in all of Star Trek. But they're able to weave in these one-offs, these, the episodic flavor, like this, like Take Me Out to the Holosuite. They don't need to all be funny. I know some the ones that stick out in your brain are, but, and I don't mean to take broad shots. I can't help but think series like Discovery would benefit from it's clear you're not afraid of serialization. Fine. Why not mix in one of these per season? Just as as a breather, take a beat. It really works in DS9, and a lot of that is the writing and the great character acting and all that stuff. But I think they put forth a template. Like, other shows could follow this. If you want to do serialization, by all means, but mixing a breather like this, it works great.
I think it comes not from the type of series that Discovery is, but more like the streaming format of saying we have 10 to 12 episodes. And I think because DS9 was still in the 26 episode margin, they could afford to have episodes like this where there were just like the off-cut things. But when in 10 to 12, it is a shame that they can't take one of those to do a good character building comedy episode. But yeah,
there's no room for filler in the current streaming model, and that sucks.
It kind of does.
Loss. Is this really filler though?
Yes, this is filler. This is absolutely filler.
I might say no. I wouldn't say filler.
It's a piece of cake. It's a piece of cake. It's like, you don't need this for a meal, but it makes a meal.
Yeah. Like, here's the thing. I'm going to give this episode a 10 out of 10. Like, I'm already going to lock that in for you straight away. Like, but if you take this out of the wider structure of DS9, nothing broadly changes.
Yeah, you were quite right.
Yes, there's a lot of great character moments, but there's like there's a bit of character growth.
Yeah, Nog doesn't change, Ron doesn't change. Like, nothing actually.
Yeah. It's like you get to see them at their best, absolutely. But it's like these are moments we already had. Like Quark has already had his heroic moment when he freed Kira from the jail. They even explicitly referenced that episode here. Rom already had his moment of brilliance with like the minefield. Nog has already proven himself to be a strong Starfleet officer many times over. Like this does not innovate in any way. There is no great truth that is illuminated here, I would say. But if this episode did not exist, Star Trek as a whole would be so much poorer, and I'm so glad that it doesn't.
Well, isn't that the opposite of filler? If Star Trek is worse off without it, then it's not filler.
I'm saying filler as a purely structural term. I'm not using it as a derogatory sense.
In the same way you'd say bottle episode, you say, "Oh, this is a bottle episode." It's not a deterrent from it. It means you could do without it, but.
Yeah, it's a case of like if you were gonna do like 10 episodes that sum up the Dominion War, you would not include this in the episode list. But that doesn't mean you should skip it ever. I think if you're going to do a DS9 watch through, you should watch this through and probably watch it a second time just for good measure. Well, but it's a case of like, structurally it's filler. The plot, the grander plot of DS9 does not advance as a result.
I think it's semantics though, because there are serialized seasons like in New Trek, where even though every episode like furthers the quest a little bit, you could still cut 3 of those out and it wouldn't really matter. So, it's whatever. We're splitting hairs. It's
amazing episode. Guess what? I love it.
How about a fun fact?
Star Trek fans arguing about minutia.
Yeah, Trek fans doing that. How could we dare?
How about a fun fact? So, Ira Stephen Bear had already tried to cast Iggy Pop in Star Trek before. Can any of you take a wild guess as to what that would be? I'll give you a clue. It is in DS9 already. He wanted him in DS9.
Well, yeah, if I was Stephen Bear, of course it would be.
As Kai Wynn.
Could you imagine?
Alternate Vic Fontaine.
Sadly not.
That really could have been something.
Actually, yeah.
That'd be a very different show. I'm going to go ahead and guess he probably tried to get him as like a Vedic or a Bajoran resistance player.
Sadly not. Auto?
No?
I read this a couple hours ago.
Okay, Overtired.
A real guess? I don't know. No.
Okay, he actually tried to get him as Grady, which was the character that Clint Howard played in Past Tense. The sort of, I forget his name's there.
Oh, is it either wise guy? Like bank robber or
no, he's the sort of like the guy that trips out seeing Kira and O'Brien as they're teleporting through time
in the 60s.
Yes, from the 60s. Tried to get Iggy Pop in that, but sadly he was unavailable. But however, he was available to be in a better role, I feel, in this one. The second fun fact I have is obviously
hold on.
Go on.
Circle back around to that, but since we're on the topic, how pitch perfect was he in this?
Oh my god, Iggy Pop! Like seeing Iggy Pop play something so straight. As someone that's been like seen Iggy Pop like rise, I listen to him every week on Radio 6. Like he is amazing. Like he is such a musical guru, and he has such a deep voice. He's got a real deep. Like you hear him here, he's so high pitched, but nowadays he's like real deep now. But like seeing him on stage as being like, I'm surprised this Vorta wasn't topless and just strutting around the stage. But he's the real Keith Richards. No, not Keith Richards. Who's the other one in the Rolling Stones?
Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger. He's the real Mick Jagger of sort of like the rock punk movement, really, isn't he? But yeah, he was great playing a straight man for once.
Well, here's the thing: is you say straight man, and he kind of is. But the thing I love about the Vorta is that they're all fucking weirdos. Like, you actually take a moment to examine the role that they fulfill in the Dominion hierarchy, right? You've got the Jem'Hadar, and they are all broad strokes warrior guy of varying different degrees. They're fanatics. They're drug addicts. They're all degrees of wolf, right? You don't really get a giraffes in there. You occasionally get like a bit more of a explorer. Exactly. And then at the top of the rung, you've got the changelings, and they're all varying degrees of fascist asshole, right? But then in the middle you've got the Vorta, and they range from slightly different flavors of Wayun, who is obviously the one you love the most, And then you've got Eris, who's this weird one-off like agent provocateur with psychic powers.
She was the one in the Jem'Hadar.
The very first one you see.
One.
The very first one you see, yeah. And she's very odd in kind of like relation to the other ones. You have the one female one from the one where they're all stuck on the ship, and like the changeling is dying on the inside of the ship, and Muniz is dying. I think it's Starship Down. Is it called? No, it's not the other one. Might be just called the ship.
The ship. Done it a few times.
And and she's very, very like open and like, I'm going to be very, very honest and diplomatic, and it's like, but still weird because she's as honest as a Vorta can be. You got Keevan here, and Keevan is just hilarious because he's such a droll ass. He's the Severus Snape of Vorta. And then you've got Yelgren, who's just like playing it utterly straight and down the middle, and yet he is still like, he's got that calculating edge, like that bit when Ishka is talking about Hippocrate futures and all that stuff, and she like he's like, feel my head, like see how it's like, and then he's like, yeah, no, you're right. I should be looking at my investment portfolio right now. Like he takes
also I have to kill
seriously. Also I have to kill. Yeah, like he should. Like they're all slightly different flavors of weird, and I really appreciate that. And I think they are very, very smart in casting Epop here rather than pulling a fucking Mick Fleetwood and making him an anonymous alien. That would have been such a waste of his talents, because he's got a great sense of humor that strikes the balance perfectly here. He's really good.
Also I'll say, I feel like his role could have easily been redundant, because we have 6 strong actors with the Ferengi. They're all doing their own thing, and then Keevan comes in as a breath of fresh air as the straight man. You don't really need that role of Yelgren. And of course you have Ishka, who's way over the top, beating her little fists on top of Ram's head or whatever, Nog's head. You don't really need Yelgren, so the fact that he was able to still carve out a role with this much ham on screen is impressive. All right, what's your other fun fact, Dylan?
My other fun fact is, obviously this title is a reference to the Magnificent Seven, which is a classic film of the bygone era. Here's my quiz for you. What film is that actually a reference to? What is that ode to? I believe you might know this. The Magnificent Seven is a remake itself of another film.
Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurais. Yeah.
Thank you very much. By who?
Akira Kurosawa.
There you go. Thank you. 1954's Akira Kurosawa.
Overtired's like, I should just shut up.
Overtired's
like filling the role of stars this week.
And as a bonus question, this is the second episode of a series whose title is an homage to a classic film starring James Coburn. What was the episode that DS9 did, and what was the original name?
Dude, this isn't fair because I only ever watch Star Trek, so it's like I'm never going to get one of these.
So I'll give you a clue. The episode was Arman Bashir, which was
Arman Flint?
Correct. Arman Flint was, in fact, the original film, so yes.
Which is a James Bond parody, which is why I know it.
There you go, indeed. And another bonus question, which you've already answered. Which 2 main cast characters do not appear in this episode?
Worf and Jake.
Correct. Michael Dorn and Sirach Lofton do not appear in this episode.
Sirach get does he get title screen credits?
He does, yeah.
I believe he does, yeah.
I feel like he's missing from so many episodes.
He really is. Yeah, he kind of got a bum deal, honestly. I feel like they didn't know what to do with Jake half the time.
I think they did.
I feel like if Avery Brooks hadn't been as strong a proponent of that relationship, it probably would have been dropped.
I think
the Jake character is there to make Sisko a father, so he's just really like not so much his own character. So he's a real satellite character to Sisko, and when the war's happening, Sisko being a dad is a little less takes a backseat.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's true. Okay, I'm going to add a little bonus section in here because we usually have our best, worst, our ratings and all that. I'm going to add a little bonus one. Your favourite and least favourite Ferengi in this episode. Overtime, let's start with you. Who's your favourite and least favourite Ferengi?
This kind of gets into my best and worst moments, but my favorite Ferengi in this is Eliminator Lek, just because Star Trek so often Planet of Hats aliens, and just to have one Ferengi like really suffer from wearing their hat a lot. So it's nice to see one that's like, no, I actually like want to do this other thing that isn't just business deals. And for my least, just because he doesn't add anything, is cousin Gala, because he falls asleep, lets him escape, he shoots him, and it's just like,
he's the load.
Right. And I wish there was one line in there where it's like, you were a weapons dealer, we need weapons, I know you've fallen out of that career, but you can be our weapons guy in the same way that Brunt is the ship guy. And it's like, then it would just like, he has a purpose, because otherwise he's just a body to round out having another Ferengi on.
Otto, least favorite Ferengi?
Oh, that's tough. I could go for Brunt here, because as much as we love him, they actually don't give him very much at all. He's kind of an afterthought.
He has a ship.
I'm actually gonna go Ishka, which is odd because her little fist pounding was like it was so good. That was perfect physical acting. But her voice, actually, I mentioned it during the watch along, it draws me out of it. It sounds like someone doing a Ferengi voice, which, it's a nitpick, but if I'm going to pick...
I did prefer her original actor as well.
I like her in other stuff, but just in this particular episode. Favorite? All right, I'm going to be on the original. I'll steal also, going into my best of territory, also Lek, because the line of the episode for me was, I saw we weren't going to get out of this anyway, so I put her out of her misery. It's so, like, it's brutal, but it's also, like, just a casual throwaway line. Like, that makes sense to that friggin' psychopath. So, yeah, he was great. Not a monolith, and it does, anytime you can broaden out a species, go for it.
Stars.
For me, I'm actually going to go best. You know what? Like, I have a soft spot for Rom. I've always had a soft spot for Rom. I think Max Gronchik. No. Like, no. It's the dumbest humor. It's just a guy doing a silly voice, but it gets me every fucking time. Just like at the end, it's like, how does it feel to be a hero? Ooh. Just, he's so fucking good every time. Rom is amazing. I love Rom. He guess what? Rom deserves more credit. He can fix a straw if it's bent. Worst. It's hard, man. I enjoy them all, but yeah, it's Gala as the designated load. Like, I honestly wouldn't have been surprised if like Lek or Brunt had just shot him, because of the fact that he contributes nothing. He doesn't provide a ship like Brunt. All he does is make mistakes. He's just a miserable asshole. He's kind of only here because he's a previously existing Ferengi. But he does... Even then, even with that being said, I still like him and I would miss him if he wasn't here. Just because of the moment between him and Quark in the Federation holding cell, where he's all like, oh, if I could get out of here. And then Quark's like, no, also, fucking go at me. And it's just like, you don't get to see Quark do that very often. Yeah, no, it's like, Gale is a miserable piece of shit who does nothing because he's an arms dealer piece of shit who does nothing but profit off other people's pain. Of course that's what he's like. That's fine.
But,
and
I would like to say...
a valuable function. I like it. Good.
I would like to say I buy him as a sinister character. Because up until the point where the force field's down, I must be calling back to other episodes. Arms dealers are not nice people, and I bet if you met one in real life, there'd be a stream running down your leg. This guy, especially for Ferengi, like he puts in some real dark flex into his acting, where you're like, oh, I don't want to get on the wrong side of this guy. So you're right. After that point, after maybe the holding cell broke him, like he wasn't a badass after that. But in other episodes, especially, it's been like, ooh, I'm gonna steer clear of this guy. Idle, who are your least favorite and favorite?
Least favorite, I am fully on the fuck Gala train. Okay. That guy was definitely contributed. You could have had the... Sorry, what was that?
Are we doing Kill Bang Mary?
Yes.
You can call it fuck, marry, kill, bro.
Yeah,
We're
that's
pretty
fine.
blue over here.
No, hold on. We get advertiser money now.
No, they're fine with fuck. It's okay. As long as we don't say it within the first 10 seconds, we're okay. No, yeah, Gala didn't do anything, but yeah, I think my favorite one is still, and I'm gonna seamlessly segue this into the best or worst moment, and I'm gonna steal the focus and say that my best moment and my best Ferengi is Rom, for that line is like, oh, now you go hide and I'll follow and I'll find you. And that's just such uncouth genius from it's pure comedy. It's pure refined comedy for, like, you don't expect it. You don't expect from that character, yet it hits so hard. And that is not just my favorite Ferengi, that is also my best moment of the episode. I don't know what my worst moment is. Probably Ishka. She wasn't great. I think it could have been.
It's hilarious. Great.
Yeah, I don't know.
Also, the way that, like, when they're about to pull back from the negotiation, and she's like, "Moogie loves you, Rom, not you, Quark. Fuck you. Moogie loves you." Like, that's hilarious. That's great.
So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to pick a worst moment for this episode because it's all quite quick. There's a lot of quick fire episodes. Like, there is no wasted space in this episode. There is. It's nicely paced. There's a lot going on. It's hard to pick a bad moment in this episode, other than maybe Nog's innocence at the, like, he thinks he can get a load of Ferengi to just obey orders, but he knows what Ferengi are like. He knows they're motivated by money.
He's been drinking that Starfleet Kool-Aid.
He's on the root beer, isn't he? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, Overtired. Best worst moments, please.
I'm gonna say my best moment is, I like that Rom does get that moment where he's like, no, we're doing this wrong. We should be more Ferengi about it. And instead of, like, trying to, like, prove the Ferengi are, Klingons or whatever, the way Quark's kind of been going at it, to be like, no, let's, like, play into our strengths, the things we're good at, even though Rom's not particularly good at it himself. And then if this is a move I can make for worst moment, I'll just say the lack of Zek.
Fair. I can definitely see this would have been in a better episode with Zek. It's still an amazing episode, but, like, Zek would have, like, really made it feel a bit more complete.
Why are you letting that Varder get to me? Auto, you're patiently, pensively saving up a.
All right, I'm going to make it hard on Stars and Steel 2 best moments. One of which I already mentioned, where that liner's like, I just put her out of her misery. That was so funny. But the other one, which actually might be yours, is when they stumble into Cisco's ready room.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
They just, like, pratfall out of the Jeffries tube. And that is such... You know how I know it's a good moment? It's because you could put Picard in that chair or Janeway in that chair, playing it the same way, and it would hit exactly as good. Like, that's well-written comedy. They didn't need to say anything. They just open the door and look at him. He looks at them, and it's like, it's
Can
so
I
funny.
help you, gentlemen?
Yeah.
We took a wrong turn. It sure looks that way.
My worst moment is actually, it is nitpicky, but it's from that Lex scene. They're in the, and I know it's the holodeck. The floor, the ground in that cave is so manicured soundstage cave, you know what I mean? It's bad enough that it takes you out of it. You're like, oh, right, I'm watching a TV show filmed in California. Like, that's what I think when I see those kind of caves. So, they could have done a little bit to dress that up.
Some more dirt on the floor.
One rock.
You can tell it's real nitpicky when we're addressing the stage, Stars.
I'm gonna cheat, and my best moment is all of the comedy. I'm gonna freaking when they're running through the hallways of Empok Nor, and, like, Quark is out there like freaking Wile E. Coyote, just like on the Roadrunner, and then everyone else is running.
He can run so fast.
And then one of them hits the barrels like an idiot, and then if you watch closely when they run back through, one of them nearly tries to hit into another stack of barrels. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's just the high-pitched Ferengi squeal when Gala goes for the gun and they accidentally shoot Kevin. It's the sheer slapstick of they activate Kevin's hands. So the first thing you do is hit Snog in the head. It's Kevin walking into the wall over and over and over again. It's no. It's every single line, every single pop is incredible. It's like it's airplane-esque in just how many punchlines rapid fire land. I just adore it. So I'm gonna cheat and say all the comedy. It's my favorite part. Worst part. It's hard. Like there's a version of this that exists in my head which has the original Ishka actress who I believe might have died, and which has Zek because he doesn't have scheduling conflicts, and it's a slightly better episode, but it's splitting hairs. I'm gonna get real nitpicky. Maybe one of the Jem'Hadar should have been like, do you not think it's really, really stupid to leave 2 of us and like 6 of them with guns? But guess what? I don't care. I don't actually care about that. I'm saying this because I have to fulfill a spot in our structure. I don't genuinely believe
government
that.
Mandated. You must pick a worse moment.
Literally.
Well,
So, yeah.
And if it makes you feel better, you can imagine that conversation happened off screen.
Exactly, and then it just gets hand waved away. I don't actually
It's in a book
care.
somewhere, I'm sure.
Chekhov met Khan somewhere on deck 3.
Exactly, he was in the
see
toilet. There you go. Yeah, they met in the
Right.
toilet. Yeah. Exactly. That's the only thing I can think of. I love this such a bit.
Okay. In which case, Stars, I am agog, awaiting to find out what your rating criteria for this episode will be.
Press the button.
Oh. Hang on.
Professionalism.
This button.
I can show you my rating code.
Schiller rating 3.5. Associational rating norm -3.
That's much too low a rating.
I'm just not accustomed to seeing an unsatisfactory rating on a member of my crew.
On a member of my crew. Stars, I am not accustomed to hearing an unsatisfactory rating criteria among a member of the Trek Time staff. So please, what is your criteria this week?
Now, I know you guys were pulling for the Michael Jackson Thriller Kevin dancing, but too obvious, and it's too good. I was going for Liquidators and Eliminators and Cowards, oh my. But I have decided that our rating for this episode is, gentlemen, how many increasingly desperate Ferengi no's out of 10 would you like to give this episode?
Gosh. Overtired, you lead us off, please.
Well, if it was just a regular TV show, I would give it 10 out of 10 increasingly desperate Ferengi no's. But since it's Star Trek, and to compare it to other Star Trek, I think I'd give it 10 out of 10 increasingly desperate Ferengi no's.
Those are the same. What did you say the word "but" for?
He had to qualify his statement.
Absolutely.
Right. To build up the drama.
Okay.
Auto.
Idle, you go. Because I'm
Okay.
curious. Because I know what Stars are going to say. I know what I'm going to say.
I think we're all going to say it. This is 10. And it's 10 for a lot of different reasons that I would usually give a Star Trek 10 out of 10. Like, we've given some Strange New Worlds episodes 10 out of 10 because we loved how we interweave the awesome Star Trekness of the plot in with some great acting and all this kind of stuff. And other TNG episodes, I'm sure I will give 10 out of 10, like Who Watches the Watchers or Yesterday's Enterprise, just because how awesome they interweave various things. This gets a 10 out of 10 for me for different reasons, because it is uniquely funny. It fits. It is only something, and I said this before, it's only something that someone that's watched a lot of DS9 could give a 10 out of 10 for. All, you know, it's such a unique episode that I'm so surprised that the Star Trek top brass agreed to it. Like, you know, let's just have an episode with only one main character leading an entire group of characters that people aren't really keen on, because back in the 90s, people heard Ferengi episode and were just like, oh, we're not quite sure on this. This is too comic relief for our serious Dominion War or our highly logical and high sci-fi concept Star Trek series. No, let's just have a bunch of people in weird prosthetics do some kind of like Italian job style caper with Iggy Pop. Like, how ridiculous does that sound? It's ridiculous, but it works. It's so funny. It works in context for how you've learned, like, especially Quark, Rom, and Nog's characters, and learned about the Ferengi culture as you've gone. And no, they even do, like, it's not just a random bunch of just like, oh, we're capitalists in space. No, you've got Lek, who is an eliminator. We've never seen that kind of character in Ferengi lore before. We've got Brunt, who is like got to deal with some ex-trauma from what Quark's gone, but he's here. We've got, you know, it's such a random pull that comes from such a love from the directors, from the showrunners, of how confident they are in their series to be able to pull this off. And it's so ridiculous, and it's so funny, and it just works. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 what?
10 out of 10 increasingly desperate Ferengi knows.
See, no, that's not fair, because you write it down in your spreadsheet, so you get to reference it when you.
I know, I do.
Was,
I have it literally right there.
All right, I'll go next because I think we should end it on a positive note. I had a few issues with this episode. The pacing in the last third, it's really weird because I didn't think any of the dialogue suffered. There was plenty of physical comedy, but I just felt like it was I was starting to lose interest, dragging a little bit. And then even some of the physical slapstick stuff was a touch over the top for me. Like when we have 6 people like filling into the clown car, running into each other, it was just a hint too much. Also, I need a little bit more in my Star Trek. This is a great, like I said, dessert episode. I don't think I could binge it like back to back like I could with some really great ones that I love. But, you know, it was obviously, as you've all said, extremely enjoyable. Almost all the comedy is like really good. Almost all the acting is really good. So I'm going to give this 9.15 increasingly desperate no's out of 10.
Stars.
All right, I'm gonna bring it all home. So we talked with peak performance how that doesn't really have an emotional catharsis that, like, make it stick in your brain, and this does. It actually does, but it's so understated and just like soft and nice, and it requires the writers and the actors and the showrunners and director to have complete and utter confidence in the viewer. Because they understand and they have faith that you have been watching DS9 for 5, 6, 7 seasons, and you understand that when Rom asks Quark, "How does it feel to be a hero brother?" and he says, "I don't know. How does it feel?" and then you get that look on Rom's face, and that is a big moment between them. That is genuinely heartfelt and lovely and beautiful, and you don't get to see it too often. And the instant that, like, you know, Lek and Gala and Brunt and all of them walk off, it's like it just brings it back to Nog, Ishka, Rom, and Quark. It's like, this is the family unit. This is why all of this mattered, really. You know, it's like we did our comedy hijinks. We did our disparate continuity pulls. We did our Dominion little plot threads pulling. But it's ultimately about, guess what I'm going to do? My Fast and Furious family. It's about family.
Shit, line
but
up
it
the
actually
Let's
is.
go.
I know, right?
You mean line up the... Never mind.
No.
Yes.
No, already did.
You said it.
Idol, sometimes the joke is the anti-joke, okay?
Sure.
You gotta...
Yeah, he doesn't know restraint.
Hello.
But yeah, it's like they have faith that you know why this mattered to these characters. You wonder, they obviously do a bit to set it up with Quark in the beginning, where it's like he doesn't feel recognized versus how Jadzia, Miles, and Julian are war heroes. But it's like all the little emotional moments really work because you've spent the time with these characters, and it's why DS9 is so beloved. It's because it trusts that you're gonna be on the long haul, and when it does, it's so much more satisfying. So it doesn't have to work as hard to prove itself. It's just like, no, here is a culmination of, you know, like roughly 5 or 6 years of storytelling, and it just works. And also, it's fucking hilarious. Every minute of it was just fucking hilarious. So guess what? It's 10 increasingly desperate Ferengi no's out of 10. And I really hope that someone is going to do the work to stitch all of our no's together so they ascend and descend in pitch. I want it. I need that.
Just do it from like
that
bottom
to
No,
Yeah,
Idol's
exactly.
gonna auto-tune it into a reggae remix. So let's
Ooh, there's an idea.
There you go.
I'll do that to Max himself. On the end of that brings our average score to a 9.8. Ferengi news out of 10, and I do just have to see where this sits. This is our third best rated episode of all time of the now 50. Actually, no, this will be 70 Star Trek Treks, because we haven't counted the Strange New Worlds of Star Trek Treks, but this is now 70 episodes we have now reviewed in this format. The only two that beat it are Spock, Amok, and Those Old Scientists. This is now sitting at number 3.
Oh. Sorry, I'm disgusted at Spock and Amok for the same reason that I was a little harder on this one. I'm not a fan of the pure hilarity.
We love our comedy episodes, Those Old Scientists.
You're noted for hating comedy, Otto. You are well known as the
Look, you poked the bear. I'm going to have to go rate Spock and Amok because I wasn't in on that one. Don't make me knock it off the pedestal, man.
You probably will, but it sits just above Under the Cloak of War, which was 9.6 from us all.
Infinity. Infinity.
Peak Performance, which we reviewed a couple of weeks ago, was 9.4. So that's sitting up there at number 6. Yeah, number 6 in our list. So
yeah, this is whatever.
This is scientific. This is purely you cannot fault this.
We were built on timelines. This is like WRG releasing tier 3 every week because they know what's going to get people to tune in and put their money down. So we're just going through all the good episodes.
Get out of it. You cannot say that after we've just watched so many bad episodes for so long. We watched one good one, which is like, yes, 10, let's write it. Anyway,
do we know what the average for Star Trek is? Does the show
the
like
average
the
for Star Trek right now?
This must have dragged it way up.
This is I haven't done it for a while. At the moment, it's sitting at, I don't know where it was before. I believe we're at like a 5.9. This is now 6.4. We've gone up to a 6.4. I can only feel like things can only get better at this point. Star Trek is going to get better. I'll give you the average for DS9. No, I haven't tracked that data. Not yet, but
we'll get there. So bad at averages.
My averages are the best. Anyway, we will be back in a couple of weeks with another feature episode. We're going to feature one of us as the pick for the episode, and they will pick the episodes, as opposed to my format, which was let's just drag us through all the shit, get us so despondently sick of all the episodes, and then almost give up. But we will be back with someone's criteria, so please have a check on the website for that. For all other things, we have a lot of fun stuff on the channel. Go check it out, go like, subscribe, all that jazz. For now, Overtired, any last words, any shout outs before you leave us this week?
Oh no, just thanks for having me on. I had a great time. Never really done this before, so it was fun.
No, thank you for having you. It's been it's been absolutely brilliant. But on that joke, we'll see you next time, and ta-ra.